video brought to you by Dose.
All right, homies. Time for the Pickems.
That's right. This week we're doing something a little bit different, obviously. I've got Isaac here as my guest writer, my guest picker of the week. We're just going to run through all of the matchups. We're going to talk about what we like, what we don't like. Hopefully give you something a little more in-depth than like the little 4 or 5 sentence paragraphs that I've been giving you. And yeah, like I said, we're live on the Discord, so if you have any questions or have any comments, we'll answer or respond to those live. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. So matchup 1 this week, we have Jacob's Night Lords versus Colton's Death Watch. Isaac, why don't you tell me who you like in this matchup and why?
All right. I'm going to give the edge to Colton. That's nothing against Jacob, but the Space Marines they have the 9th Ed rules. Here's the thing, their lists are doing very similar things. They're going to castle up with these hard to wound, hard to get wounds through castles. I'm going with the -1 damage and the 5 up invulns. Jacob likes to castle up and give a group 4 up invuln, which I found out in my game is like insanely freaking annoying, especially when you don't have just a ton of shooting to deal with it. So, all that being said, since they're doing the same thing, and one has a newer book / some units that are a little more mobile and can get out when they need to go, I'm going to give the edge to the Death Watch. But I do believe it'll be a close game and a good one.
I actually think the opposite. I think Jacob's going to win this game. Again, nothing against Colton. I just think the 4-up and the Demon Engine, the volume from the Demon Engines is better than what the Death Watch bring to this matchup. And I think that Jacob's going to be able to kill all those vehicles, those dreadnoughts early, and then he's going to take over the board with the rest of his stuff because all of those other the kill teams won't be able to do anything. In the chat, we have Jacob actually said, will you consider banning Codex secondaries in the future?
Probably not in our tournaments. There was definitely, from the group here going to the one in Odessa that happened recently, I don't think, we didn't have a good response in the player base here from the guys I got feedback from. Some brutal words like fake tournament and stuff were thrown out there, and I was like, well, yeah, also that and my personal goal with events I run. Now, other people can do it however they want. There's no right or wrong way. But the events I run, typically going to try to emulate what a GT would be, an ITC GT, and they're obviously not going to do things like that there. So, probably not here in events that I run. But
okay. Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think that's... no, I don't see that happening. We would need a Codex secondary that is ridiculously broken. There are some that are very, very strong, but I don't think there are any that are outright broken. I think your closest argument is the Dark Angels one, the one where you just sit on your home objective for the whole game. But even still, I have denied that in a tournament game at the Dallas Open. I denied that turn 2, and so if you deny it one time, you take 5 points off that secondary. So it's not, there's counterplay to it.
Yeah, I will say, stay tuned. The list I'm running this tournament would probably deny that. No freaking problem.
Yeah. Question 2, he says, what changes do you want to see in the Custodes Codex?
Oh, frick. Well, Custodes obviously need a way to ignore or counteract mortal wounds. They're just such an elite army with such high point values. They run something like Grey Knights, and that Smash Caster is just going to take out way beyond what his points are worth, so... I think just that existing in the Thousand Suns, I haven't played against them yet, but that just completely invalidates their ability to, I think, compete at the highest levels.
Yeah, I'd like to see another wound. I'd like to see jet bikes go to... I honestly still feel like 5 is too low. I'd like to see them at 6 wounds apiece, maybe. Or points decrease on the jet bikes. Just because what you're getting for them... maybe giving them 2 shots with their Melta missiles instead of just 1. Little things like that can make them... They're already pretty close to competitive, but like little things like that could push them over the edge. And I would like to see more... I'd like to see just more models in the range, because everything's Forge World right now. So if you're not running Telemons and Venatari, you probably don't have a whole lot of chance. And then his last question was kind of a meme. It's like, when is the best time to wear a striped sweater?
Never. Well, it depends. I guess if the stripes are wide, it makes you look fatter. So just make sure they're up and down and not vertical.
Only time you should wear a striped sweater is when you're TOing a tournament, when you're a referee.
Horizontal stripes. Let's go.
So we have a couple more questions, but we'll go back to those. Isaac, what are your keys to victory here for this game? So how do you think Jacob wins this game? How do you think Colton wins this game?
Honestly, so it's a 6 objective game. And like I said, and the reason I gave the edge to Colton just needs to get out, be mobile, get on points, and probably hide on points that Jacob can't shoot at or has to get to charge. It'll take him a little bit. And with Jacob, I guess putting that castle in the right place where things can shoot out and grab an objective. You don't have the most mobile units, but I say that, you have a few mobile ones, and so I guess play those, play the Helldrakes and play the Disco Lord and Demon Prince. Play them in a way that when they get out and go, it's to steal a point or to contest a point, and I think that's going to be the key to winning.
Yeah, so I think, Jacob, really my keys for you is use those Helldrakes, get some move blocks in, because Colton very much wants to castle up, so if you can contain him, keep him in his deployment zone with that 6 objective mission, he's not going to be able to spread out. He's going to have to stay there. You can maybe even not have to shoot at the Dreadnoughts turn 1. You can just pick up Marines. But I think in the trade game, the long game, your Demon Engines will outlast the handful of Dreadnoughts he's got there.
Yeah, I think that one's going to just come down to who can eliminate the units that are going to go out and score on either side.
Sure. So according to the poll I sent out earlier, 90% of the people think Deathwatch will win this. So I'm in the minority saying that Jacob is going to win this. So Jacob,
underdog.
Don't let me down. Okay, moving on to our second matchup of the night, or of the day. Will be our first matchup, first round tomorrow. We have Clint playing his guard, and we have Wes playing his admech. I guess I'll start this time, and then you can go ahead and provide your feedback. So, according to the poll, 70% of people like admech in this one, or like Wes, however you want to break that down. And I think I agree with them here. I just think the Codex is really strong. I like Wes as a player. He came to my clinic. He's been improving every week. I've been watching him, tracking his scores, and so I have to root for him. I'm a little biased though, but just in terms of like list and the Knight going into all of those Leman Russes, it's gonna outrange them. And this one's long deployment, right? This is
Hammer and Anvil. Yep.
So the Knight's gonna have the advantage there over the tank commanders in the Leman Russ. It's gonna be alive at least turn 2 or 3, and if it's still alive turn 3, then the guard is probably losing. That said, I think the keys to the game for the guard here is not to focus the Knight. Take shots at it if you can, but kill the scoring units for admech. He's got a handful of Scutari, he's got some infiltrators and things that are going to go score all of his points. So if you can deal with those, you have a realistic shot at winning this round, even if your score is not very high. I also know that Wes's army is not 100% painted. He might be close. He might be painted by the time this tournament rolls around, but that might affect his score a little bit. So,
right. So I'm actually blanking on what Wes brings besides the Knight. I'm pulling the list up now.
So he's
got
like
all the Cataphrons.
Yeah, he's got a handful of the chickens. He's got like 2 or 3 chickens.
2 chickens and the Onager
Dune Crawler.
And the Fuselage. So yeah, man, that Fuselage can actually go ham in the guard. It's a hard target for the guard to shoot with that -1 and -1 damage. Yeah, -1 damage. So that guy can just start picking up crazy amounts of infantry units between his guns and his bombs. I'm going to give the edge to admech once again. Surprise, surprise. They have the best book in the game right now, arguably.
I'll give you arguably, but it's Drukhari.
Guard are just outruled at the moment. That being said, the guard can always freaking surprise you, and if you're not ready or you get in their threat range and just take a nasty turn of shooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if the guard pop off on their shooting, like, there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny because Skitari are like the perfect target for a lot of guard shooting. You've got all of your weapons are blast. It's all like ignores line of sight, long range.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about the Skitari Alpha Strike. You can play pretty safe. And then like all the scoring units are low toughness, and they have these little tricks to get their armor save and things up. But it doesn't matter when you have like AP2 and AP3 on all your things. Like,
Right.
That's enough that you just need to make them make saves. Like it's not like
Yeah.
Custodies where you have to get a little lucky and hope they fail some 2-ups. With AdMech, you just say, well, you're going to be at a 4-up or a 5-up. Like, you're not going to make most of those. So
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think the guard can catch you with that, but that's not a guarantee.
it's not a guarantee.
And so the AdMech are probably going to do their thing. That's probably a guarantee. And so just because of that reality, I'm going to give the edge to to Weston and Zambek.
I concur. We have some questions that are related to AdMech, so let's answer those right now. Mike asked, do you think Skitari infantry need to go up in points? Yes.
Absolutely. At least a point per model. My mind's saying 2. That might be too much, but at least a
2
point
for
per model.
Vanguard, right?
Well, I would say 2 for Rangers, 1 for Vanguard, if anything. Because Vanguard have no AP. When they shoot into vehicles, they're situational, is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Whereas Escatari, it really isn't situational. They're going to be good in every matchup.
And now he says infantry, so he doesn't specify like troops choices. So now what do you think about like priests, rust stalkers?
Well, if anything, Colt Mech needs to
Infiltrators.
just go down in price. There's no reason to bring Colt Mech at all right now. Maybe if they were cheaper, that would change. Skitari is just so much better. I guess you could throw a tax on the Skitari keyword as a whole, at least as far as core goes. I don't think the rest needs it. But I personally like where the rest of the Skitari range is at, minus really just the Rangers. There's nothing. I mean, there's still good stuff, but it's not just busted. That's my take.
All right. Yeah, I think some of the characters need to go up in points too. But other than,
yeah.
I think you do that, and AdMech really works itself out.
Yeah, I agree.
So we had one more AdMech question. Let me find it. Should AdMech be considered Xenos?
Man, you run into things like Stygies in the lore anyways, and that's a whole different conversation, but possibly they do some weird stuff. They're kind of shady. Who knows?
I mean, if you put AdMech, I mean, Necrons are Xenos. AdMech are basically Necrons. Like, it's the same thing.
They worship the machine god who happens to maybe be the emperor, so...
Yeah, they call him a different name, though. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so moving on to our third matchup. In this one, we have White Scars, Ricky and his White Scars, versus Matt and his AdMech. And I'm going to take this time to say that I love Matt's list. It's like... Honestly, it looks like whatever he had on the shelf, and he like put it in a list. He's got like one of everything. I don't know if you've seen it. He's got like
I'm about to pull it up.
he's got like 2 robots, Scorpius tank, priests, I think,
Yeah.
tech priests,
Yeah,
some
Fulgurites.
Skitari, Fulgurites.
Literally a little bit of everything. That's
Yes,
hilarious.
Ballistari. Not just Ballistari. He has Cognis, Last Cannon, and if he's still. Oh, he did change it.
Yeah, he went to all
He
S.
did have autocannon chickens too. So I love the list, Matt, but I think that Ricky is a really good player, and I think you're gonna have a hard time because how Ricky won against AdMech last time is he just killed all of the scoring units early. So even though the knight was still alive in the later turns of the game, the AdMech player just couldn't put up any points. Now you do have the advantage here because you have the long deployment, so he's not going to be in your face turn 1. He's going to have to kind of come across to you in 2 turns, so you can leverage that to your advantage maybe. If you screen well, and I think that's really your key to the game here, is screening well, knowing that AdMech is going to kill your infantry.
Right.
So giving them stuff to kill or deciding what they're not going to kill, more importantly, and doing that well will mean that they'll gas out. The White Scars will gas out turn 3, turn 4. There won't be any left on the board if you play it right. But if you let them get into your lines, you let them touch stuff that they're not supposed to, and you let them swing first, they're going to just run over you in the squinch and get out of hand real quick. That said, I like the White Scars in this one.
I like the White Scars too. If nothing else, he's got a lot of experience as a player. Not that Matthew doesn't. But Ricky rarely makes the same mistake twice. And just the fact that has he won one yet in this league?
He has. He's won in 2.
Oh, he won. Yes, correct. So
he's had some tough opponents.
He has had some tough opponents. That being said, I'm thinking when he comes out of losses like that, he's just like, it's fresh, and he knows what he did wrong, and what he wants to do next, and what he wants to try next game. And so, if nothing else, I think that's going to propel Ricky to really kind of refine the play he does in this game. And he's probably out for blood, not for a win, for sure.
Ricky's also an AdMech player, so he knows some of the tricks just going into it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of head knowledge of AdMech as a faction, and yeah.
So 90%, I think I already said 90% like Ricky, 10% like Matt, and I agree with them in that. Let's look at the chat. Should the Emperor's life support be cut off?
I mean,
yes.
Man, I'd like the Emperor to come back because I think he would come back in a way that's a big twist and that no one's expecting, which would be cool.
He's a terrible father, and
I can't argue that.
Yeah.
Mine's the best Primarch.
No, we're not getting into that. We're not getting into that. I knew that was coming. I tried to beat you to it. Okay. This we're talking about Marines. So the next one will be Jacob asked, "What would you say percentage/hard point wise Marines need to go down?" And I guess the question is implying that Marines need to go down here.
Some Marines need to go down.
I was gonna say I disagree. I think Marines are at a pretty okay spot right now. It's not that Marines are bad, it's that everything else is good and outshines Marines. Like, Marines is a phenomenal codex. When you take it in a vacuum and compare it to everything else in 9th, like, it's very balanced. It was really strong at the beginning of 9th, but that's only because nobody else had a codex yet. But if you take it in hindsight, the things they did with the core keyword, and just kind of the rules they wrote for the Marines in general, I think maybe the Chief Apothecary was probably the only thing that was really overtuned.
Yeah.
That it was really flavorful, and Oath of Moment is probably a little strong too. But aside from those things, like, Marine is in a good place. And if those are the two strongest things in Marines, like...
Yeah. The hard part about Marines for opponents to address is the fact that they give out no secondaries. And that can be a huge advantage when you're playing, let's say, Grey Knights into Marines, and you take a Before the Witch, and it's an auto 15, for the Marine player, and then the Grey Knights has really nothing they can choose.
Yep.
Other than positional,
yep.
And maybe the odd mission secondary. I think that's where Marines have an advantage. Is that a bad thing? Probably. I don't know for sure.
Well, we can talk about this all day, but there's some secondaries that need reworking, because there's some secondaries that just never get picked ever, and I think it should be more of a difficult decision when you walk up to the table, like, what secondaries am I going to pick? You should be able to build an army that can do teleport homers. Like, that should be a thing you can do, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's just, you're never going to get that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to name, like, let's say 3 Space Marine units that could use a decrease, in my opinion. Centurions, they're kind of bad right now. They lost the core keyword.
They can't
make
do
them
their
cheaper.
Thing where they deploy forward and Raven Guard anymore.
Yeah,
They just killed Raven Guard altogether.
Just make them cheaper. Aggressors, they lost the double shoot.
Aggressors are fine. As someone who's run aggressors, they're fine. The problem is they're just better choices right now.
Yeah. Okay, I haven't ran them.
Because remember, the assault ones got extra range on their flamers.
That's true.
I mean, they play all phases of the game really well, so they can shoot you, they can move up, they can punch you, and they're scary. You just don't want to take it. And they're only 120 points for a unit, so they're pretty good. T5, 3 wounds, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't played them.
I think the Vanguard vet nerf was wrong. I think Vanguard vets go back to where they were. And hear me out, okay? I think they were strong. They're a good unit. Just because a unit is good doesn't mean it needs to be nerfed. The problem with Vanguard vets, and the reason Vanguard vets got nerfed, is because we saw the longitudinal impact of that. Everyone was taking Vanguard vets. Vanguard vets were running a ton of events.
freaking nuts.
Everybody was taking Vanguard vets. But then Admech and Drukhari came out, and even Dark Angels came out, and they were winning everything anyway for the next several months. And yeah, you still saw Vanguard vets, but Marines weren't placing top 5. It was always Drukhari, Admech, all these other codexes, Death Guard. And then they nerfed Vanguard vets. And so, they were already kind of irrelevant at that point. They're still a good unit, but, I don't think they needed the points nerf. I think the meta just adjusted to them.
Yeah. And then, as my third, I'm going to say all Space Marine vehicles.
Yes.
They don't have core.
Yes.
There's no reason to run them. Make them at least cheap enough to where they're spicy.
An Impulsor should not run you 130 points. There's no reason to take a transport that's 130 points.
So, minus Rhinos. Rhinos are probably in a good spot. But
Rhinos are great.
anyways.
But yeah, moving on. Okay. Let's go. We're getting some random questions here. I'm gonna try to steer away from those. We're gonna keep to the matchups here. So matchup 4. This is a good one. We got Mike and Mike, the Drukhari versus the Orcs. This is gonna be a good game. I think this is gonna be one to watch.
Possibly the game of the round.
Yeah.
Frick. I don't have a whole lot to say because I don't know that Orc Codex well enough to comment on that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you know more, go for it.
I don't. I haven't even played Orcs in 9th edition yet, which is a little bit on me as a player, but I don't. I know the Drukhari Codex, right? I know both these players. They're both very good players, so this is going to be tough. But I know the Drukhari Codex. I know what it can do. But let me tell you what I know about Mike's list. So I know Mike's list has a lot of damage 3 shooting, and it has lots of Orc shenanigans. It can just throw out a lot of rocket and shock attack, and it can reach across the board and touch you with shooting, and you're not really prepared for it. But it dies so fast.
Here's my question. Orcs are still Ballistic Skill 5, right? I think that's going to be the deal. If they have any kind of dense or forest on the board, and then coupled with lightning fast reactions,
Yep.
then that shooting has a potential to just not do anything. And if he can't blow those transports, we all know this, if you can't kill the Drukhari transports before the troops come out and get delivered to their payload,
Yep.
those orcs are goners.
Game over. That said, I don't think Mike's list, the Drukhari player, has a super meta, hardcore kill, just keel over and die type Drukhari list. So
True.
I think if there's counterplay, you can beat it. You beat it. So.
Oh. That was with perfect movements. That was with well calculated decisions.
What I'm saying is, the orcs should not be discouraged because they're playing Drukhari here. I think there's some counterplay because Mike has brought a more flavorful list here. He plays what he likes to play and plays it well. He's not rocking up with Dark Technomancer Liquefiers and.
Well, now it's the Chronos freaking spam.
Now it's different now, but they're still good. But it's not like the dreaded, the ITC type list where you run into top table at a 400-person tournament. But
that being said, call it ignorance, call it whatever, but I'm gonna give the edge to Drukhari, and maybe I'm just missing something in the Orcs list that
So I'm gonna give the edge to Drukhari too. I think keeps the game. Isaac hit on it perfectly. Use the dense terrain to your advantage because the orcs are going to be fast. They're going to be able to shoot you turn 1. So just get them at a -1. Get them on 6s, 5s, and 6s if they have some way to do that. It's not going to be fun for them, and you're going to survive pretty well. Additionally, the long board here is really going to help you hide more effectively against the orcs because they're going to be mostly ground vehicles and things like that. And Drukhari are just going to be able to jump out, reach out, touch it. I don't think getting first in this advantage in this type of match is going to matter at all. I think actually going first might be a detriment on this.
Yeah, it could be. Once again, I guess that just depends on how much orc shenanigans the orcs have to strike deep into the opponent's deployment zone. But yeah.
Yep. Okay, let's look at some questions in the chat. Orc buggies, scrap jets in particular, need a nerf no contest. But would you agree the codex on the whole is pretty underwhelming? I don't have enough information to make a decision on
that. If I was
that.
an orc player, I'd comment on that. that, but man, unfortunately, it's not a faction I know real well. Post update.
Sitting from the outside looking in and looking at how they've done it recent tournaments and things like that, I think they're actually okay. Just because the faction is not, Drukhari and Admech have kind of ruined our idea of what a codex should look like. I think Grey Knights is a great codex. Space Marines is a great codex. Necrons was probably a little weak, but when it came out, it was not a bad codex. Dark Angels, probably a little too strong. And I think things like Blood Angels was a great codex, and the meta has made Blood Angels not good. But when we get all these other new codexes, I think Blood Angels will move back up. So we're already seeing Space Wolves come back on the incline. So that said, just because they're not top tier competing right away does not mean Orcs are bad. I think Orcs are actually going to be pretty good codex.
Yeah. I think one piece of feedback I've gotten multiple times, which I think is unfortunate in any codex, is that there's just some overwhelmingly strong build that's just better than all the rest. And I don't like that. That kind of sucks for a codex to be so pinholed. If that's the reality, I would love to see Orcs get buffs in some way, points drops in some. I don't know what the answer is, but it'd be cool for other lists to be able to compete besides just the buggy spam craziness.
And Orcs are brand new, so let's give it a little bit of time. Let's see where they really stack up before we make any big.
That's fair.
Make any big predictions there. Okay, 40% of you like the Drukhari and 60% of you like the Orcs in this one. So that's a little bit interesting. I think we're both Team Drukhari here.
Yeah.
Matchup 5. This is going to be another banger. We've got Dylan and his Grey Knights against Todd and his Orcs. Two, again, very good players.
Yeah.
Todd just had a kid. Congratulations.
Congrats, Todd.
And 80% of you think that Dylan is going to be Todd's father in this matchup.
Man.
Yeah.
Funny. So I actually voted Todd. Dylan's the bomb. He just whooped me with his Grey Knights the other day. But man, it's just I believe Todd has. I don't think he changed too much. You can go ahead, but I believe he has a bunch of bodies.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk because I think I picked Dylan in this one because I think Dylan's a good player. I think we had a really close game this past week, and I think he made some mistakes that he's not going to make against Todd. Keys to the game, Dylan, don't leave one of your Nemesis Dread Knights off the table for 3 turns. Bring that bad boy in, let it do some work, especially against the Orcs because they have a lot of bodies. But I really like the Grey Knight shooting into the Orcs list. Just all of it's like 12 strength 5. Is it strength 5 or strength 6 on the side?
Strength 5 and 6. It's 5 on the 12 shots, and then strength 8 actually on the 6 shots.
So strength 5. So strength 5 AP -1, which is like perfect into Orcs. I mean, ideally you want the strength 6, but strength 5 AP -1, perfect into Orcs. 6 shots, flat 6 shots into the Orcs. Each one is going to pick up a body, and they're really good into. They're good into all the bodies. The problem that I see Dylan having is the vehicles.
Yes.
The trucks and the jets.
Yeah.
There's just the. Do the jets get ramshackle too or no?
I have no freaking clue.
I don't know Orcs, but I mean the trucks have ramshackle, so even if you're shooting the strength 8 damage 2 weapons into them, it's only doing 1 damage each time. So you're not going to be able to peel open those trucks unless you use empiric amplification, and you can only do that on 1.
Yeah, and that's not
not reliable. So
yeah, that's why I'm thinking Orcs, and that's one of the reasons I chose Orcs is just the Grey Knights are going to want to use a lot of their volume on the boys, and then what you have left is a few 6 shots here, 6 shots there, going into some vehicles, and that's just not quite enough to bring them down. And so I'm thinking these vehicles spend 3, 2, 3, 4, God forbid, turns, random fire down on those Grandmasters. And
that said, I do think that the Grey Knights can survive it. Tide of Shadows with the Orcs being not very good shooters.
That's true.
Even though you're putting out 36 shots, if the Green Knights are sitting at -1 to hit, 2 up save, like, I think they're okay sitting there taking that.
That's true.
This kind of seems like a matchup where nobody dies until they start fighting each other.
Yeah.
And the Grey Knights, while they can't pop the vehicles with their shooting at range, they can at close range with the smites and things. And then the Grey Knights would love to get into combat with some orcs. You know,
Right.
6s explode and 6s to wound, do mortal wounds is just like great into a big squad of boys. So
Yeah. Either one wins not going to surprise me. So this is going to be an interesting one.
agreed. All right, let's look at some of the questions here because we may have some orcs. What? All right. This question is: has anyone really been far even as decided to use even go want to do look more like? I'm not really sure what the question is there, but
My answer is yes. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well done. Okay, so this is actually a good question here. Mike, the Orcs player, asked: is first turn advantage real in practice?
Depends. It can be very real when players aren't really too familiar on how to set up a table for a competitive game. In that case, it can be very real, and the game will literally just come down to who wins that first turn roll.
Yeah.
Or if you go against like some dumbass running a real like dumbass meme list that wants to hit turn 1.
Yeah, like somebody that runs like triple Invictor and wants to like forward deploy and charge.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
probably has an advantage there.
Yeah.
Only a douchebag would run that.
Yeah.
But
No, first turn advantage is real, but it's a mitigatable thing, and it, like Isaac just said, it's a combined effort between you as a player knowing how to screen and building a list that has units that can screen,
right.
and 2, as a tournament organizer, making sure that when you get these matchups, or when knowing that you have these matchups, making sure there's ample terrain so that you're not just having people feels bad lose turn 1.
Right. I think the newer the player, the more they're going to tend to just deploy everything and then get lit up. Like, oh, this game sucks because it came down to the first turn. But I think the more experience you get and the more you learn how to mitigate it, and then the better table you set up or play on, then it gets better.
It gets better. So, is first turn advantage real in practice? Yes, but.
Yes, but.
And then, how to make Necrons viable with a later codex. So, I don't play Necrons, but I know that they are still good if you run the 1 or 2 archetype builds they have. Silent King is cool, Warrior Blobs were great, and then Jakari happened. And
GK. Man, dude, I mean, they will run through 20 warriors.
Yeah, but
like nothing.
Necrons were already dead before GK was a thing.
That's true.
So, I think the tools are there, the pieces are there. I'm not a Necrons player, but I feel like Necrons is something you fix with a screwdriver as opposed to a hammer. Like, it just needs a little bit of tuning and it's there.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to the next matchup. And you said you like orcs, and I'm going Grey Knights in this one.
Yeah, I win orcs.
Okay.
Todd is, man, he's fun, absolute joy to play
Yeah,
against.
he's great.
He's got all kinds of cool little tricks and stuff he does to make the game go quick, and cool dude. I'm gonna go for him.
Good luck, both of you. Okay. Round 6 or match 6. We've got Ben and his guard versus Chase and his Alpha Legion.
Chase. Newer player. He's learning his ropes, or he's learning the ropes of his army, and learning the ropes of the whole competitive aspect.
Yep.
I will say I was pretty proud of his score the last game.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I messaged him.
He's obviously learning and improving. Pretty cool. Ben has played. He went 2-1 at the Stormcrow tournament.
Yep.
Chase is pretty new to his Alpha Legion, to learn the ropes. So I'm gonna give the edge to Chase. Also, I'm gonna give the edge to Ben. Also, he just shoots from out of line of sight, and
But Alpha Legion -1.
true.
I think that Chase is going to have more survivability, and with his score in this last round, I can tell that he's learning how to be more survivable and how to keep himself in good position. That said, Ben's a good player, and Chase is still learning. He's still new. I'm going to err on the side of experience here, and I'm going to pick Ben because I also think Ben's list is just really nasty, and he's had a bad string of two losses in a row, but he's going to bounce back.
Yeah. Chase, that conceal, man. Learn that conceal, read conceal over again. It can really screw Ben over when he's trying to hit your stuff from out of line of sight, and all of a sudden he can't target a key unit holding an objective.
Yeah. Endless Cacophony, use your, I don't know what changes you made to your list, but we talked about your last cannon devastators and having things shoot twice.
Right.
Use that, conceal that unit. You're going to pop a tank, because the one thing about Imperial Guard that you haven't really faced yet is that they don't have invulnerable saves at all. So all your plasma, all your last cannon, all things like that are going to be way more effective into their vehicles. And
you got the Combi Blast Termies. They come in, shoot twice. They're probably going to pick up a vehicle.
Yeah, so I say keys to the game for you is don't let the Combi Blast Termies get shot by a Lehman Russ tank commander with a battle cannon.
Right.
Like something that is going to just chew them up. And use your -1s, because Guard don't like a -1. They're one of those armies that don't, like, Marines don't care, but Guard, they care a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
And we got 90% like Ben and the Guard, 10% like Chase.
And Chase, props, you got one of the most beautifully painted armies. I freaking love Alpha Legion.
Yeah, man, and you're new to the game, and I know that, you're struggling in the league a little bit, but we're rooting for you. We're hoping you do well, and we're hoping that when you go to Austin, or wherever the big tournament you're going to is, you represent Stormcrow, you represent us well, and you have fun.
Yep.
All right, let's go to some questions, and then we'll get to our last matchup. Okay,
Oh my.
if you made a vehicle secondary category, what 4 secondaries would you make for vehicles to score? 4? That's a lot.
That's a lot. I'll come up with a couple.
I know.
Obviously, with the role of vehicles, they're probably like a artillery, bombard kind of unit. So you probably want to make some kind of secondary based on them taking stuff out, or a certain thing out.
Yeah, and there's some codex secondaries like that. AdMech have it.
Right.
Yeah, so if you wanted to make that a general thing, like for each non-vehicle unit that a vehicle, like grind them down but with vehicles, something like that. Like, if your vehicles kill more than vehicles died this turn. That's all right.
Yeah, that's tough. That's probably more design space for codex secondaries than core game secondaries.
Agreed. I mean, you could Space Wolves have one where you charge things. So maybe if you had like an Orc secondary where it's like charging things with the vehicles. I don't know. Like they all feel very codex specific.
Yeah, definitely.
To be honest with you, now there are vehicle secondaries. Vital Intelligence can be done by any unit, and it does not specify. So a vehicle can do vital intelligence.
Hey man, my freaking Rhino is just gonna gather some intel.
It's gonna gather some intel. The problem I have with vehicle secondaries as a Marine player is that I do not want my Repulsor Executioner putting a flag on a pole instead of shooting all 45 of its guns. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, armies like Tau probably like that, but I just think it's really hard to balance in the meta. Yeah. I think what you do is you make more accessories or more secondaries accessible to vehicles. Like I don't see any reason why a vehicle can't raise a banner. Like someone gets out of the vehicle, raises a banner, it takes the whole turn. Like I mean,
sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? Like that's
funky, but
I just don't see any reason why not. Or like teleport Homer or things like that, where you have to survive. It's a long period of time.
It seems weird tying objectives to anything other than infantry or character, just because those can be so broad. I mean, a vehicle, you have anything from a guy in a big war suit to like a tank, and I don't know, funky.
So Vindicare Assassins can see a lot through their scopes, but can they see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Definitely, yeah, probably.
Yes, and they ignore the invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Wire Guard the best boys. They're not. They need a codex.
Best boys or Arc boys?
I have to agree. Okay, what would you do to buff assassins?
Oh man, that's tough. Get them out of the game.
I think assassins are okay. They have good support. They have good rules. They're not the best price. They probably need to be a little bit cheaper because they feel a little weak right now. But like, not that much.
I think she's hungry.
They need to be. They're 100 points each now. I could see them going to 90. That's really the only change you need to make in my mind. Like an Evasaur Assassin very comfortably goes and gets its points back every time. So yeah, that's. They can do a lot of secondaries. They can do teleport homers. They get Rod really easily. They got cool rules. I just think that there are better options to take in each codex right now.
I'm extremely biased on this matter because I'm like hardcore mono faction, at least when I'm list building.
Mm-hmm.
It actually hurt me to run Leviathan and Chronos in the same list. And so, yeah, no comment.
All right, last one before we get to our thing. Imperial Fists. What would you want to see their Super Doctrine reverse to, working on how it was before the kick in the balls? Basically, what changes would you like to see the Imperial Fists?
Here's the thing. Dev Doctrine, Super Doctrines are just in a funky place.
Yeah.
Iron Heads isn't too bad because they have that 1 CP can put you right back in it.
Right.
And maybe all Dev Doctrine need that utility.
Imperial Fists need it. Some way, whether it's a Warlord trait, Relic. A Relic would be really cool for Imperial Fists, like a 6-inch bubble of anybody within 6 inches always counts as being in Dev Doctrine. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Or pick a unit.
Pick a unit, yeah, something like that.
Imperial Fists to me have a great trait, like ignoring cover and 6-0 additional hits with bolt weapons. I think that's a great trait.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the more you read that book, their relics kind of suck. Their warlord traits aren't great.
The units that are really good at using it aren't good right now, like Centurion Devastators. There's just like there's a lot of cool things, but there is no synergy.
Yeah.
In the Imperial Fist book, which is why they just struggle really hard. So, to fix Imperial Fists, I think you just need to make some of that stuff synergize a little bit more. They killed the Super Doctrine because they realized that if you just ran like 50 Heavy Bolters, you'd beat anybody in the game.
Yeah.
Because Heavy Bolters also got buffed, and then you could just shoot Heavy Bolters, and it's like, okay, 6s to wound vehicles do like 2 wounds or something like that. I don't know.
Well, no, it's they did flat 3 damage because to a vehicle, and then they 60 were additional hits.
Yes.
Before.
So you just like Heavy Bolters, and you're good into any matchup.
What are you doing, cat?
I really don't think that would have been as strong as they were scared of it being, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, beats me.
Okay, last matchup. Here we go. Some guy named Isaac playing Tyranids.
I'm the underdog again,
and
guys.
some guy named Jeff playing Ultramarines. We have 60% of you guys think that I am gonna beat Isaac, and 40% of you guys are wrong.
No. I think that's a tough one.
So you did change your list. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, so I changed my list. I was like, you know what? 1, it's something I've always wanted to try. 2, not gonna lie, I was like, man, into at least Jeff, like, it's not bad, so whatever, I'm gonna do it. And so I'm freaking doing the Gaunt Carpet. In my defense, it is something I've always wanted to try, and I just haven't tried. Well, I haven't had the painted models yet.
Yeah. And
I was in a position to crack out some models, so it's all battle ready. It's all ready to go. And so I got. Any of you played me kind of have seen the 3 Tyrant combo. I call him Smash Mantis, which he's just a Hive Tyrant with wings, completely kitted out to do melee damage. Does mortal wounds, flat 4 damage, and then minus 4 AP, so if you don't have an invul, he's just going to eat through you. So that's him. And then next I'll have Cast Mantis. He's the Hive Tyrant I've built to just get the important powers I need off. I actually had to shave some points, so I put some guns on him just because it's cheaper than having the 2 talons. But there's no secret tech there other than I needed his points to drop. And then Swarm Lord, you know him, you love him. He's just gonna be pushing units all across the board, and he had a points drop recently in the last update, which is insane because he was already freaking good. So he's all about it. So you have those 3 just tearing it up on the battlefield, and then you have the rest of my points is in troops, basically. I guess we'll go to elites real quick because we'll get through that. But we got a Maliceptor. He just exists to reduce the strength of guns coming in. Since I have a bunch of T3 infantry, all of a sudden bolters are winning on 4s, or into Gene Stealers or Warriors, bolters winning on 5s. That's a pretty big jump. So you got him, and then you got the Tyrant Guard, which they absorb wounds for the 3 Tyrants I have. That's literally their only job. Give them ablative wounds. And then the Lictor, man, you know him, you love him.
Yeah, Lictor, best unit in the game.
Best unit in the game. You're just going to come and score something. And then insane amounts of troops. So we got 20 Gene Stealers. They shoot up, try to mount stuff. They had a points drop too, so looking good there. You got 2 units of 29 Hormagaunts.
I know that hurts you.
It did hurt me, but man, I saw what they could do last game against Michael. They gave him 0 primary in turn 1. They shot up, moved. I believe it's 13 inches twice. They moved 26 inches, stole his home objective. The other elves sitting on the other objective got shot off by the Hive Guard, and next thing you know, you have 0 points for primary.
Gross.
Yeah, so that's what they're there to do, just shoot out and then take too long to kill because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then you got the 2 units of 10 Termagants. They just sit back and do actions, essentially. And then the 9 Warriors. These guys are like crazy. They don't seem crazy. They only have a 4-up save. But they're pretty cheap now. They got a points drop. And then they reduce damage by 1, potentially. For 1 CP, and they have access to a 5-up shrug, so on a turn where I know I'm going to throw them up, hold some key objectives, and my opponent's going to need to move them. All those defensive buffs go on them, and -1 damage right now is my favorite freaking rule in the game. I like spamming it. I've been running the Iron Hands Dreads with it. It's nasty.
-1 damage is really good
and
my
when
list.
When you couple that with a 5-up Feel No Pain,
Yep.
I mean, anything shooting into them just becomes hyper inefficient.
Yep.
It become really hard to shift. It didn't matter if they're taking their save or not. When they have -1 damage and 5-up shrugs, it's acts like a 5-up invulnerable save, almost better.
Yeah.
And so, man, those guys are they're mean. They're ignoring a Q1 and 2 as well. They have the enhanced resistance, so they're pretty dang hard to shift. And so this list is all about the troops choices and just denying the primary and hoping that does enough.
Yeah. So I am bringing Triple Invictor and the Volkite Dread with
Yuck.
double Volkite Culverin and the missile launcher. Those are my big boys. It's kind of like the centerpiece of my army. I'm also running a Chaplain with the Seal of Oath. And basically the kind of idea there is that I wanted the Seal of Oath to be on a unit that was fast enough so that if I get first turn, I can have all my Invictors in your face turn 1 and be re-rolling everything. And the Chaplain on a bike gives me that because I can just zoom him up the board. He doesn't even need to charge. He can just be within 6 inches of the Invictors and they can go crazy. He's got the litanies where I can get +1 to hit on something, which is great because I like shooting. He's also got the litanies to give me bonuses to my charge and pile in, which really helps because a lot of times people know it's coming, they screen out for it, but if I get that extra 2 inches on the charge, it's probably not enough to stop me from getting into their lines. And then I got a Unit 5 Blade Guard, a Lieutenant with Storm of Fire, which on 6s to hit gives me an additional AP, which is actually really clutch. Like, I didn't think it was going to be as good as it is, but it's helped so much because just going from AP 2 to 3 and 1 to 2 is like a huge difference.
They're big jumps.
Yeah. Especially into the Grey Knights, like with their 2-up armor save, like just getting them from a 2-up to a 4-up was like huge. But that said, my list, I also have 2 units of Eradicators, a couple units of Incursors, some Assault Intercessors, and I think that's about it. Grav Devs. How could I forget? Grav Devastators, Grav Devastators and Inceptors, which are kind of my units that I use to score points. Like, they're my scoring units, but against the Tyranids list here, the Inceptors are actually going to be really, really good.
Right.
Just throwing out, I can give them just reroll 1s, so throw those guys out there, delete some gaunts. Like, they're going to be useful. I'm going to have to be smart about how I use them. Grav Dev's less so because he doesn't have good saves, but it's still volume, so it's going to be good into
Yeah,
gaunts.
and then obviously I do have one, two, three. I have 4 units with 3 up saves, and so there are some good targets for the grab devs.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, are those big units, like T6 or above? All of them.
That's true. Well,
Yeah,
one's
so-
T5. You have one really good unit for grab devs to shoot at, and that's
Is it
5 Tyrant Guard.
Tyrant Guard. That's not a bad target at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be that would be a decent target. But I think just the volume of shots is going to always be useful no matter what I'm going into. Plus, if I'm shooting into gaunts, they only have 1 wound anyway. Yeah, they have a 6 up feel no pain, but I'll take picking up 7 gaunts instead of 10. Whatever. That's all it is I just have to get through everything. I got to chew through the carpet.
Right.
My successor traits are going to help me with that because I am a successor. I'm running Whirlwind of Rage and Born Protectors. So when I charge, I get +1 to hit, which is just going to help get me volume. And 6s to hit are going to do an additional hit in combat. So even though I am primarily shooting based, you don't really want to get into combat with me because even the Invictor is going to be hitting 6, 7 times on the charge on 5 attacks.
Right. Funny thing is, I have no choice. My list brings 2 units with shooting. Well, I guess 3 now with Cast Mantis having to go down in points. And so I just don't. I don't shoot. I'm just trying to position. I'm just trying to charge where it benefits me. And so it's interesting. I did it last league.
Yep.
I went like all melee once. It'll be I don't know exactly what to expect from this game. I haven't run this list yet. Man, obviously I voted for myself just because.
Yeah, you gotta vote on yourself.
But yeah, this one will be interesting.
I think I'm gonna struggle to kill the big things. Well, all but one because Seal of Oath is going on something. But
yeah.
I was debating with myself beforehand: is it worth putting Seal of Oath on a big unit of gaunts, or is it worth putting on? But I think right now the targets are Smash Mantis or the Malceptor, because if I kill the Malceptor, then that gives me better shooting into everything else in his list. But if I kill Smash Mantis, like he doesn't really have anything that can get my dreads that I'm really scared about. Everything else is going to be kind of a slow burn at that point.
Yeah.
But 6 objective mission. He's fast.
Yeah.
He's gonna beat me on the primary. He's gonna probably beat me on the secondary. But can he beat me for 5 turns? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely early. I think I can get a commanding.
It's gonna be Ultramarines come from behind. We'll see if I can make up the difference.
Yeah, it's just if I can do enough damage to hold it. Obviously, for me, the keys are gonna be wraps. Really, I mean, maybe forcing every turn if I can him to use those 2 CP to back out and shoot.
Yeah.
Another thing, and this is a stratagem that no one really thinks about, but when it's like mine, it becomes all of a sudden almost core to your game plan. Is I forget what it's called, but anyone can use it, and when you fall back from a unit, the player who uses it rolls a dice for every single model.
It's cut them down.
Yeah, in engagement range.
Yeah.
And if you're coupling that with the fact that on ones the models die with being able to back out over models and all, what's it called?
So if you use the stratagem for 2 CP, Desperate Breakout, that lets you run away. If you roll a die on a 1, your model dies anyway. But he's talking about also using Cut Them Down, which is a core stratagem. So every model that you have in range can roll a die, and on a 6, it does mortal wound, which doesn't sound great. But when you have a unit of 29 gaunts, that's average 5 mortal wounds. So
yeah, you can get maybe 10 in or so. Yeah. And anyways, it may not be every time that you do it, but maybe on a clutch unit that's going to try to fall back and capture a point or whatever, what have you.
I've done it with the intercessors against the knight before, so because I had 1 wound left, it works. It's there. It's a tool.
It's sneaky. This one will be interesting. Very interesting. Once again, I won't be surprised either person wins. It's just one of those kind of could swing either way in a turn.
And so this is actually interesting. So because of our scores and our position in the league, it's possible that we have to play each other twice.
Oh, really? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it is. Because the finals, this is the semifinals. The finals will face somebody that's lost at least 1 game. So that being said, because neither one of us have lost,
True.
if our score is high enough, then we'll just rematch again the next round because it'll be based on score.
That's true. And I will say, I think, once again, I haven't played this list yet, but I think even if I lose, I can put up a really good score. So
Yeah.
it could be a possibility.
You're gonna be tough. Dylan has a very high game score.
Yeah, he does. Huh?
Dylan's only missed like 20 points the whole league, so it's gonna be tough to beat him.
I had a real rough round one. I thought I lost. We added up the scores and we ended up missing one thing, and I was like, I lost by a point. I was like, oh no. And then, that being said, yeah, my round one was pretty low scoring, so it makes for a kind of volatile matchup.
Can you talk about how you got to the finals and or how
yeah.
you got to this point?
Yeah, I'm undefeated currently, and I've probably been playing longer than most in this league.
Yeah.
There's a couple that have been longer than me, but I've definitely been probably competitive the longest.
Yeah.
And so, sure, I'm running a maybe C tier faction, but I don't think that's fair because I don't think my list is a C tier list. I've built the list very specifically to be able to do a certain thing.
Yep.
That's really good in 9th edition.
Yep.
So, that being said, that coupled with just experience, I think that's all I have on anybody here, I think. I play a crap load of games all the freaking time because I love Warhammer, and my wife's real cool and lets me. And to be honest, that's probably the only thing I have on everyone else because I'm not like, in my opinion, I'm not this just insanely smart, really good freaking prodigy. It's just reps. So that just propels me to do well generally. I probably win more than I lose, a lot more than I lose. But round one, I had Jacob. Unfortunately, yeah. He was like, I'll be so mad if I face Isaac round one. And he was playing Night Lords, and frick, I even went into that game thinking, holy, like, poor Night Lords, whatever. He freaking almost beat me. I won by 1 point, and I just lost. I played into the strength of his lists.
Yeah.
He played a solid game. I got to give credit where credit's due, and I just kind of bounced off of him, and like that game really came down. It was anyone's game. He should have won probably. I saved 3 5-up invulns on a group of Gene Stealers to win the game. The dice are the dice. I could have just as easily lost that game as I won it. Round two, Nids are really good at surprising you if you're not ready for them. I completely think that's what happened with the Death Watch and Colton. Round two, he definitely wouldn't play me the same way again. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
He learned you can't put the Eradicators on the table.
Yeah.
They have no invuln. Smash Mantis just picks up 5, hands
Runs
down.
away.
Yeah, runs off. So I don't know that I could beat him like that again. But that being said, I alpha struck him between Smash Mantis and the Hive Guard, and it ended up being a pretty solid win for the bugs. And then Michael, once it had been a while, he kind of didn't remember, and I just shot across the board and denied him primary pretty much all game long. I'm sure moving forward, once again, he would adjust and would start maybe more obsec on certain points rather than one unit and a bunch of vehicles, which is what happened.
Yeah.
I just wiped the unit, or I didn't even wipe the unit. I just put like
More bodies.
10 gaunts with
Yeah.
the range.
Exactly.
And so, that being said, Tyranid just being such a not well-known codex, and people just not having reps against them, they come in. People have low expectations because they're a C tier codex, and then all of a sudden they're picking stuff up, and you're like, what the hell just happened? That's probably carried me through the first part of the league. That won't be a thing against you, I don't think, though.
We'll see. So first round I had Chase. Chase is a great opponent, fun guy. We actually played at your house because we had to schedule our game weird. But again, he was still learning the game. It was, I think, his first real competitive game of 40K. So I just had the experience advantage there. Round two, I go against Ricky, who's a very good player, playing White Scars, which, like killing Marines, luckily I like killing Marines too. Like that's like our lists are very good at that. He ended up getting first turn, so I had to pull everything back. I played real safe, and I took everything out of range of his Eradicator's turn 1, so he didn't have any anti-tank that was that could get to my guys. So I knew I was going to have 2 turns of shooting most of my big vehicles. And that said, I had to leave some infiltrators out across the table. They were kind of my shield. I was hoping he would go grab them, like wrap them, attack them, so that I could, because they were not in a great position. So when he wouldn't go tag them, like he wouldn't be able to fully pile into cover, and I would have angles to shoot at him. And that's what happened. He just deleted them, just picked them up real easily. But then put all of his stuff kind of in cover. I was able to shift all of my Invictors and Dreadnoughts over to the side, bring my grab devs down, and just absolutely light up everything that he brought to the midboard on the right flank. And he made no invulnerable saves. Like, he just had really bad dice.
Bummer.
And
Happens.
and it does happen. And my list very much wants to hit you hard early, and it hit him as hard as I possibly could. I picked up probably 600 something points of White Scars turn 1. It was bad. So from that point on, he was playing on the back foot, and all I had to do was really just maintain and make sure I just traded evenly, and then I just won because he had nothing left on the board turn 5, turn 6. Or turn 4, turn 5. Then round 3, I had a maximum pucker factor game against Dylan. Game could have gone either way multiple times. A couple rolls here or there. Neither one of us failed a 9-inch charge out of Deep Strike all game. So it's just, yeah. So just everybody was making plays. Everybody's making moves. I Seal of Oath his Nemesis Grandmaster thing, whatever, super smash guy, and he lived the whole game with 1 wound.
Of course.
Yeah.
Dylan, bring a Tech Marine, and that 1 wound turns to full health at the end of the game.
Yeah. So I think really the big advantage there is that Dylan picked some secondaries that were not his best friend. He also rolled really poorly on his Purifying Ritual. He got like 1 point for it, turn 1, and like 2 points for it.
Jeez, that makes me happy
2.
because he didn't fail it a single freaking time when we played against him and my Iron Hands. And he
Well, it ended up winning. I ended up winning 80 to 77. So literally, if he just made those saves, we'd be tied. But that's kind of like the game you play. I didn't have good secondaries either, to be honest. I think I got like 10 for Oath of Moment, which is low.
So it was anyone's game.
Anyone's game, absolutely. It was a great game all the way around. So really, I think if we played that match 10 times, Dylan wins 5 of them and I win 5 of them. So I just got lucky. So now here I am in the finals against Isaac, and I like this matchup a lot better for me. I don't like the Grey Knight matchup, but
Grey Knights are good, man. I really like where they're at. I guess we can finish out with a couple questions, or if there's any questions.
That's all the questions. I made sure we got through all of them. So
we're at an hour 3 on the nose, so we can call it a year.
Yeah, let's call it. Good luck to everybody tomorrow. Remember to leave your armies out for the people to vote on for best painted, and then we got raffle.
Yes, we'll be giving away a Pariah Nexus box and a little space or a backpack.
Awesome.
Imperial Signum on it or whatever.
And then one last thing for the Pickems score. I know people are worried or curious about that. So Isaac is in the lead with 20. He's picked 20 out of 21 games correctly. The only game he missed just happened today.
Close.
In second place is myself with 17 picks correctly. In third place, we have a tie with Dylan and Michael McKibben. Each have 15. So there's 2 rounds left, and I'll be doing picks tomorrow. So there's anyone's game. Anybody can win at this point.
One last thing before we go. They're coming for you, baby. Let's go. Peace.
See ya.